there are a lot of questions about the relationship that they are in, and the dynamics and what they're supposed to do. He did this, she did that, and there is a lot of information that I actually really want to share with you. So the first thing in terms of relationship, especially romantic relationship dynamics, the first thing that we have to think of, it's our definition of love. What is love to me? What does it really mean to me? Because we might have one definition of love, which is the adult definition of love. We want to be loved and cherished and respected and treated in a certain way. And there is a definition of love that is childhood definition of love. Because what happened in our childhood, we experience a love dynamic with our parents. So the childhood definition of love is the kind of love you received from one or both of your primary caregivers. And you might have received that love with a special type of dynamic. So especially if you are in difficult relationships, but I think it applies to all the relationships, because all the romantic relationships, because subconsciously we attract people that remind us of our parents. And there is even saying we usually marry our mother, our father, our spouse represents that dynamic. And obviously it's not a conscious dynamic, because then a lot of people say, yeah, but no, my mom is completely different than him, you know, or my father was completely different than him. And on the surface, that might be true. But if we really go deeper, it's not about the surface, the characteristic of the person, but it's about our emotional dynamic with that person, our triggers. What is triggering the relationship? What's the conflict? What is the unsolved situation? What are the emotions about in that dynamic that we experience with that person? So the question is, whose love did you want in your childhood that you maybe didn't receive in a compassionate, attentive way? Whose love you want? The love of you want the love of people that were loving you and hurting you at the same time. And this is very subtle and sensitive dynamic that we often don't see, because a lot of my clients, when they come at the beginning, they say like, yeah, but my mom loved me, she's amazing. Yeah, but my father loved me, he was amazing. But obviously our parents loved us, but there is underneath that there is a dynamic that was emotionally a little bit different. So the first thing, in order to know your relationship dynamics and what is working and what is not working, we have to focus on our childhood dynamic that we have with those parents, because what child wants is the childhood definition of love is the kind of love we received with difficulties, pain, and hurt. And this is what we are trying to fix. That's why we attracting the parents and not the parents, we attracting the partners. And the part of this dynamic is difficult for us. So this requires a little bit of work and awareness of our dynamics with our parents. And that's why, because of that childhood imprint, we're gonna end up with somebody who's gonna represent those dynamics, who's gonna bring up this suffering, who's gonna bring up that conflict, that dynamic, that emotional turmoil that we experience. And you will experience the same problems and the same pain that you experience with that parents. And again, I really want to underline that it's not about the superficial dynamic that we perceive. It's about the emotional dynamic that we have with our parents. It's about was there compassion in my childhood? Was I valued as who I was, not for what I did? were my parents showing me affection? Were my parents showing me that I'm important in terms of what I say was important, in terms of my needs were important? And I'm not talking about needs that are superficial needs, that you had food and roof over your head and they put money into education. I'm talking about emotional needs that child has, to feel important, that their emotions are important, that their expression is important. And this is often omitted, and I really want to talk about it, because many people that come to me, they talk about, yeah, my parents loved me, it was a great dynamic. And then when we go into the question and exploration, we find out that yes, of course our parents love us, but the dynamic was painful. That dynamic was painful. So and because of our human condition, the dynamics are both with both of our parents. Often the dynamics, they have two sides. So they have the good side, and they have the subconscious shadow troubled side, because this is how it works. That's how we function as a human being. Human beings are a very complex thing, and sometimes from the outside, because there is a lot of denial also in our childhood, and the reason why is because a child has to, the main need that child has is to survive. And because it's sometimes not very easy having parents that are maybe emotionally different, child always has to choose attachment over authenticity. Child has to always choose a parent, because child needs a parent to take care of him. So even if the parent is abusive, even if the parent is emotionally, physically, or sexually abusive, the child, in the child's mind, the perception of the parent is always on pedestal, because we need our parent to survive. We cannot survive as a small child without our parents. It's impossible. We need a caregiver. And it's not that the child do analysis. It's not that, again, because I have clients sometimes, they tell me, no, I didn't need to survive. My parents were great. It's a really subtle dynamic. And in order to understand that, we have to go a little back to revisit certain our certain dynamics from the childhood, not in order to stay in our wounds, but in order to understand the dynamic, understand what was lacking, understand what has to be healed, because we're gonna keep attracting the parents, the partners, who will replay that dynamic. So if that dynamic was painful and hurtful, we're gonna attract partners that will replay that dynamic in one way or the other. Especially for those who have troubled relationship dynamics, or had experienced them in the past, or are struggling with certain dynamics right now in your relationship, is to go back and revisit that dynamic. Which dynamic was painful? Which parent wasn't there for me emotionally? And from that on, we can start the healing process, because we can heal that part, the child part, that wants to have the ideal parent, that wants to have the parent to take care of the child, and we can become our own parent. So the process of healing our relationship dynamic is the process of healing ourselves. It's the process of becoming our own parent. And this requires awareness. This requires feeling. It's about feeling how our dynamic was, because it's easy to say, again, I have to come back to that, that people say, yeah, my parents loved me and I had great childhood. I don't want to say you didn't. I just want to invite you to go into those dynamics, go back and feel, how was it to be a child in your family? How was it to be a child of your mom? How was it to be a child of your father? And where is the pain? What is lacking in this dynamic? What was lacking in your house that you didn't feel maybe noticed, safe, important, loved? And people who have worked with themselves and work with consciously work with emotional dynamics and the trauma, they're very aware of that dynamic was there. But then sometimes we don't know what to do with it. And my tip to you today is start revisiting those dynamics and start understanding what happened, where was the lack, what was painful. And again, my invitation to you is be open to experience that. It's not about blaming our parents, and that's very important to remember. It's not about blaming our parents. It's not about reopening the wounds and put salt on them and I don't know, and being stuck in the past. It's about understanding where our wounds come from and witnessing them with compassion. And why is that important? Because the wounds are there. The wounds are there and they will always be there. And the idea is we can put them, we can cover them under the carpet and keep cleaning the carpet all the time. And underneath the carpet, we have the things that stink and they are they really want to come up. But what we do, we just clean the carpet and say, no, let's not talk about past. And again, it's not about talking about past to go back and tell our parents that blame our parents or blame reality or blame society. It's about to understand what happened, and mainly it's about allow these feelings to surface, because they are always there and they will always be there. And if you not open up to feel them, if you don't embrace them, if you don't embrace them with compassion, if you don't give attention to them, they will keep surfacing. And then you will experience either stress, anxiety, restlessness, maybe acts of acting out emotions in a violent way. Maybe you will lose control often. Maybe you will get physically sick, like all kinds of digestive problems or pains in your body, or just feeling that you are always on the go, the body cannot rest, because the emotions that are in you, the wounds that are in you, they want to be seen. This is how the human dynamic works. And we can keep putting them under the carpet and clean the carpet and experience all these things that I said before, or we can give attention to what wants that attention from us. And relearning how to be a good parent for yourself is a process. And I would say it's an ongoing process. I've been doing this for many years, and it's not about ending this process either. It's about growing within this process. And it's, for me, it was one of the most revolutionary things that happened in my own life, in my own dynamic with myself, with life, with other people. And it's very empowering dynamic as well. That's why I decided to work as a coach therapist. That's why I decided to go into that direction, because I want to share with people that it's possible. The change is possible in your life. The joy is possible in your life. Abundance is possible in your life, and healthy relationship dynamics also are possible in your life, but we have to start this work with ourselves. It's not about the other person. The other person is just there to show us what was missing, what is still missing, what is still painful. And sometimes it can be really surprising that the wounds are still there. And it's not about blaming ourselves that we haven't passed, we've been healing and we haven't passed this. It's about bringing compassion to it. Because for me, compassion is one of the most important ingredients of healing. It's not about fixing, it's not about overcoming something, it's not about working on something, it's not about dealing with something. It's about feeling and bringing compassion to our experience. And the compassion is the healing component, actually. So I think I only touch up or on the surface, because the subject of relationship dynamics, it's I would say it's a long subject and we can talk forever about it. And I would like to talk about it in parts. And the second part I will talk about will be more about boundaries in our relationships. In this here, I would like to end, and I will tell you to start the path on the reparenting, becoming the parent that you would like to experience for yourself in the past and now. And there are books about it. There are different educational tools that you can get to learn how to be. And important thing also is to heal those wounds in the relationship, because those wounds happened in the relationship and they need to be healed in the relationship. So I invite you to work with me if the energy is the right energy that you want to experience, or find somebody that you resonate with energy of this person. You feel safe in their presence, and you can undergo this process to gain trust again, to heal and experience that the relationship can be something safe, can be compassionate, can be attentive. And this is the reason of coaching or therapy. I'm not talking about achievement coaching or business coaching, but about life coaching, in my opinion. And that's the purpose of therapy, to experience safety in the relationship. So over here, I will finish right now, and I invite you to my next video that I will talk about relationship and boundaries. Thank you for attending, and hope to see all of you soon. Ciao.